Hi guys. So today we are going to review some of the poetry terms that we've been talking about. And so let's look at this poem called Scrambled. It says, I climbed up the door and I opened the stairs. I said my pajamas and I buttoned my prayers. I turned off the covers and pulled up the light. I'm all scrambled up since she kissed me last night. So let's look at the poem stanzas. So stanzas are a group of lines in a poem. So if you see here how there's that separation, so this right here would be stanza one, and because it's grouped together, and then this one here would be stanza two because it's grouped together. All right, lines. Poems are separated into lines on a page. Sometimes they may have a rhyme pattern at the end of the line. So look at this one. I climbed up the door and I opened the stairs. I said my pajamas and buttoned my prayers. So the line, when you have that break right here, and then it goes down to the next line, this would be line one, line two, line three, and line four. All right, this poem has some rhyming words. So if you look, rhyme is when poems repeat the same or similar sounds at the end of two or more lines or words in the poem. So I climbed up the door and I opened the stairs. I said my pajamas and buttoned my prayers. So stairs, prayers. Do you hear how they have that same sound at the end there? Light, night, they have that "ite" sound. Those are rhyming words. So let's practice. It says, I love the shore when the roar of the surf comes crashing down with a frown on the turf. When the sun is shining in an azure sky and my cares disappear in the by and by. I love the ocean's expanse of blue, for that, by far, is my favorite hue. To run and jump in a rolling wave, now that is a day I would like to save. So go ahead and think about how many stanzas does this poem have? How many lines? And can you find the rhyming words? So go ahead and pause the video and find those three things. So stanzas, lines, and rhyming words. All right, next we're going to look at rhyme scheme and internal rhyme. So poets use different types of rhymes to support a poem's meaning. Rhyme scheme is the pattern of a rhyming line in a poem. You can identify the rhyme scheme in stanzas or those groups that we just talked about, groups of lines, by looking at the last word in the line and assigning letters to the rhyming words. So, for example, the AABB, the two A's, those are words that are in at the end of the line, and they are those two are rhyming. So we give them the same letter. And then B would be a different set of words that rhyme. In an ABAB, the A's would rhyme and then the B's would rhyme. So it would be every other line is rhyming. So you can have different rhyme schemes for different poems. So let's look at an AABB pattern. So Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. So wall, fall, those are rhyming. So they get the letter A. And then men again, those are rhyming, so they don't rhyme with wall and fall. So we're going to give them a new letter, which is going to be B. So we just go throughout the alphabet, and so the rhyme scheme for this poem would be AABB. All right, let's look at another example. So I love the shore when the roar of the surf comes crashing down with a frown on the turf. When the sun is shining in an azure sky and my cares disappear in the by and by. So again, surf, turf, those get the letter A. We're going to start at the beginning of the alphabet. Those are rhyming words, so we're going to give them the same letter. and then sky and by. We're going to go to the next letter because those don't rhyme with surf and turf. So they're going to go to the next letter B in the alphabet, and we're giving them the same to show that sky and by are rhyming. So this would be an AABB. All right, so let's look at another. Go through here. All right, so I love the ocean's expanse of blue, for that by far is my favorite hue. To run and jump in a rolling wave, now that is a day I would like to save. So again, this is an AABB, blue hue, wave save. All right, internal rhyme is similar, but the difference is you see that word internal. Internal sounds like something like within, inside. So these are rhyming words that are within a line of a poem. So here, if you look at those red words, you'll notice that instead of being at the end of the line, they're now in the begin or like in between on the inside of the line. So I love the shore when the roar of the surf comes crashing down with a frown on the turf. When the sun is shining in a azure sky and my cares disappear in the by and by. So shore, roar, and then down and frown. So those rhyming words are found within the line. All right, next we're going to look at sound effects. All right, so sound effects, we've got alliteration, automatopoeia, and repetition, and these can help reinforce the meaning of a poem. So why does a poet use sound effects? So they might want to complement or add to something in their poem. They might want to emphasize the message of the poem. They might want to create a mood, so how you feel, or they might want to reveal the speaker's attitude, maybe about how they feel about something. So alliteration is two or more words in a line of poetry that start with the same consonant letter. So tapping, twirling, twisting, those all start with that consonant, the letter T. So let's look at Betty Botter by Mother Goose. So look at all the B's. So Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bitter butter will make my batter better. So she bought a bit of butter better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So 'twas Betty, see, tongue twister. So 'twas better Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter. All right, try saying that 10 times fast. All right, so if you notice the repetition, Betty Botter bought, and then butter. That constant B, 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 that repetition of that consonant, um, that is alliteration. All right. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck woodchuck would? A woodchuck would chuck all the wood if he could chuck, if a woodchuck woodchuck would. So what what do you see that's being repeated there? That would be the letter W. Wood, wood, woodchuck, 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 wood, woodchuck, wood, wood, woodchuck, wood, wood. So that repetition of that is alliteration. All right, onomatopoeia is a word that mimics a sound that's either made by an animal or an object. So crackle, pop, fizz, click, chirp. Crackle, like the way that the word sounds when you read that word, that's the sound that is made. Pop, when something pops, it the way you're saying the word pop, that's what happens. It pops. All right, so let's look. So this is called things to do if you are in the rain, or if you are the rain. Be gentle. Make buildings look soft and fuzzy. Plip plop in puddles. Tap, tap, tap against the rooftops. Sing your very own song. Make the grass green. Make the world smell special. Ride away on a racy gray cloud. Leave a rainbow. So the plip plop and the tap, 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 those are our sound words, automatopoeia. Repetition means that we have a line or a sequence of lines that appear more than once in a poem. So it can come in the form of a sound, a syllable, a word, a phrase, a line, or a stanza. So here, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So this is from the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And so when you see that repetition, I want you to think of why would the author, like what would be the purpose of why they would repeat it? It's obviously important, so you need to think about why. So maybe here, and miles to go before I sleep, maybe because, I don't know, maybe because there's multiple miles to go, they wanted to repeat it. Or maybe they wanted to emphasize that part, um, because it's important. All right, so think, write, talk, and post. So we're going to think about why a poet would use alliteration, repetition, onomatopoeia in their poem, and what would be the author's purpose for using those. So as you read poems today, I want you to be thinking and finding those examples of alliteration, repetition, and onomatopoeia, and then thinking about why the poet used those elements in their poem. Next, we're going to look at figurative language. So poets use imagery, figurative language, and sensory details to describe their feelings, their experiences, or their ideas. So in imagery, imagery is referring to the pictures that we form in our mind as we read. So as you're hearing me read this next poem, I want you can close your eyes or you can just think about what pictures pop up into your mind. So think about like it's a movie, what would it look like? So the ball kept climbing higher, a black dot, no rules of gravity, no. Breaks, a period searching for a sentence, and the sentence read. So again, thinking about when it says a ball kept climbing higher, no rules of gravity, no breaks, what does that look like? All right, poets' use of words or expressions just describe something or someone. So here we've got metaphors, similes, and personifications. So sometimes poets don't just come out and say what they want to say. They have a kind of roundabout way of saying things. So metaphors are when we compare two things by saying that one thing is another. Metaphors do not use words like and as. So similes and metaphors are very, very similar. And I know we've talked about them before. And the biggest way that you can know if you have a simile, because they do the same job, they're both comparing things and they're both using two unlike things to make a comparison. And so if you see the words like or as, that's a simile, but if you don't, then you know it's a metaphor. So when this says the girl who sang the solo was a nightingale, that is describing how beautifully she sings. So instead of just saying the girl sang the solo was beautiful, by saying it was a nightingale, that's an example of a metaphor, and they're doing the same job. So you have to kind of think one step further. Okay, what do you know about a nightingale? And then make the connection. Okay, they're saying she sang the solo. We know a nightingale sings beautifully, so therefore they're saying that the girl sang her solo, her song beautifully. All right, so here's simile. So like we said, it's making a comparison just like metaphor, but we're using like, as, than, or resembles. So my love is like a red, red rose. So here they're comparing what their love is like with a rose. All right, personification. If you notice, it has that word person. And so this is describing an animal, an object, or an idea, and you're giving them characteristics of human beings. So things that are not um, alive or not human, you're giving them characteristics of something like that you and I would do. So this is called winter. It says the chill night air swept through my room like an unwelcome but determined visitor. So the chill night air swept through my room. it doesn't actually do that, but it's giving that that description to describe how the air came in. All right, so again, as you're reading, other things to look for: similes, metaphors, and personification. And how did that use of that language help with the meaning or the emotion in the poem? So be looking for examples of those. And then this next part is reviewing the different types of poems. So free verse is just that, it's free. It does not have any, you don't find the rhymes, you don't find those beats. It's not sounding, you know how like some of our poems sound very lyrical, like you could sing them. It has that, you know, you could bounce your foot to them and kind of clap them out. Like it doesn't have any of that. So this is a poem called Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a smear of summer grass. So notice you don't have, you know, there was nothing that I could kind of bounce my foot to and keep the rhythm. There was no rhyming words, things like that. So that is free verse. So again, when you see, when you hear a poem and it's missing those things, think, okay, it's free. It's not following those rules. All right, a narrative poem, just like in our narrative writing that we've done in the past, a narrative is a story. So a narrative poetry tells a story. So this is from something called Casey at Bat. And it says the outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2, but with but one inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a pall-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought, if only Casey could but get a whack at that, we'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. So here this is telling a story of when Casey goes to, Casey's playing, or they are playing, the team is playing baseball, and Casey's up to bat. And so it's telling the story of their game. All right, so lyrical is we get a very almost like a sound like poem. So lyrical poetry portrays the poet's own feelings, state of mind, ideas, and perceptions. Lyrical poetry can be rhymed or unrhymed and takes many different forms. So lyrical poetry, that's when you often see that use of imagery to help the reader, like we said about the playing the movie in your mind, you see those images. All right, so this is where the sidewalk ends. There is a place where the sidewalk ends and before the street begins, and there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black and the dark street winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk white arrows go. For the children they mark, and the children they know the place where the sidewalk ends. All right, so here we've got, like the whole time I was reading that, I was kind of bouncing my foot to the rhythm that's within there. So that's an example of lyrical. All right, so when you are reading throughout, I want you to get some of our poetry books. You can use the websites that we used from last week, or you can use the books that we have gotten from the library. And I want you looking for examples of the things, so different types, I want you looking for the different types of figurative language, similes, metaphors, personification. I want you thinking about, what does this look like in my head? Examples of repetition, automatopoeia, alliteration, all those sound effects, those rhyming words, if you've got that, practicing looking at the rhyme scheme, and just be reviewing those things that we've been talking about from the past week. So do a good job reviewing that, and we'll do some more practice when for the rest of the week. All right, thanks guys for watching. Have a great day.